if your meta ads have just completely stopped working lately, it's not your offer, it's not your landing page, and it's definitely not your audience targeting. It's actually your creative strategy. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why Meta's new algorithm now punishes the way that most brands are structuring their ads and the new framework that's actually working right now. So here's what we're covering. First, I'll go through exactly what has changed with Meta's algorithm and why your old strategy is now working against you. Then I'll walk through the creative diversity framework that we use to find new winners every single week. And at the end, I'll give you six creative types that are converting cold traffic right now, including one of my favorite formats that's driving over 50% of new purchases in some accounts. So let's get into it. The problem is most brands are still running ads like it's 2023. They'll find one winning ad, scale it, and then rinse and repeat. But that just doesn't work anymore. Meta's Andromeda update completely changed how the algorithm distributes spend. And if you're not adapting your creative strategy, then you're just bleeding money. So I'm going to show you the exact framework that we've used across 56 different e-com brands and more than $20 million in ad spend, and the 6 creative types that are actually crushing it right now. So here's what most advertisers don't understand about Meta's new algorithm. The Andromeda update has fundamentally changed how the algorithm decides which ads to show and who to show them to. Before, you could just find one winning ad creative, scale it, and then ride that wave for weeks or even months. But now the algorithm craves diversity. It wants more creative variations, more angles, more formats. And if you're not feeding it enough variety, it just starts showing your ads to the same people over and over again. So when you have no diversity or you're not feeding the algorithm what it wants, what it results in is high frequency, high CPMs, which gives you rising CPAs and falling return on ad spends. Now, most people hear this and they think, okay, I just need to make more ads. But here's why volume alone doesn't work. More ads of the same type, just hitting the same angle with the same format, this is just going to lead to wasted ad spend, right? So that's not creative diversity, that's just volume. And when you have to burn $500 on a single ad before you even know if it's a winner, and then you multiply that by 100 ads, you're just lighting your money on fire to learn what doesn't work. So what you actually need when it comes to creative diversity is different angles, different formats, and different emotional triggers. So that is what is currently feeding the algorithm. But no one seems to be able to explain what creative diversity actually is. So this is the creative diversity framework that we use to find new winners every single week. For every specific or every customer profile, we're testing 3 different angles, right? And with 3 different angles, for each angle, we'll typically create around 5 different creative types. So already that gives you 15 creatives per batch with true diversity built in. So you can already see how just testing volume doesn't equal diversity, but testing diversity and focusing on the different customer profiles, angles, formats, and hooks is how you can actually get volume, all right? So when it comes to the creative diversity framework, we look at, okay, what is the ideal customer profile we're trying to target? What are the different ad angles? What is the format and what is the hook? So in this example, let's take a specific pain point. And let's say that you sell a sleep supplement. Your customer profile is people who want to sleep better, but that is way too broad, right? So let's look at athletes with low energy. And one angle might be that one athlete has trouble falling asleep. One angle is an athlete that might wake up multiple times throughout the night. And then a third angle is, a tired athlete who sleeps 8 hours, but they still wake up tired every single morning, right? So that's the same product, the same audience essentially, but 3 completely different conversations that you're having with your ideal target market. And each of these angles will resonate with different segments of your market, and Meta's algorithm will now figure out which of these segments will respond to which angles if you give it the variety that it needs to test. But here's the biggest misconception surrounding the Andromeda update. Meta will now also match the exact ad format or concept to each person that it's likely to convert on. So for example, with the sleep supplement, if we are using a athlete with low energy, who has trouble falling asleep, and we're serving them the green screen style ad format, Meta will know exactly where they're at in your funnel and also exactly whether or not they're likely to convert off of that ad format. And if you're testing it with a hook, for example, I sleep like a baby after taking this. So Meta will now match all of those different angles and formats in an attempt to try and get you the best or the most amount of conversions possible, and will match who sees that ad and how they see it. So from Meta's Andromeda release document that they have, you can see here the difference between less differentiated ads, which Meta will now recognize as the same, all the way through to more differentiated ads, which has diversified concepts and formats. And again, whether someone sees an ad on the feed, like this static ad with a tagline versus a reel with an offer, it knows exactly who that customer is most likely to convert. And it'll know, for example, if we're using these examples that they've given us here, the person who is buying gifts for their family, the person who needs an outfit for a holiday party, or the person who is price sensitive, it'll know exactly which ads to serve to those people if we give it the variety that it needs to test. And when it comes to trying to create volume through creative diversity, you can also consider leveraging different hooks and creators to really diversify that creative. So across all of your different personas, you want to match your creator type as well. Again, from the skeptical shopper, frequent traveler, fashion enthusiast, on these examples they've given us here, if you're baking these into your different angles and personas and your concepts, and then having your creators create them, you're automatically giving Meta the diversity that it needs to scale and drive profitability through your account. So when it comes to creating all these different ad concepts, formats, whatever you want to call them, these are some of the highest performing ad creative types that we're running right now across our brands that are scaling and spending, $100,000, $200,000 a month on Meta. These aren't all the ad types you can run. Obviously, these are just a couple of examples that are all targeted towards the different stages of the funnel. And number one is my favorite. It is the -3 reasons why ad. So this ad agitates the pain point and provides a solution, and works great also as a static. And it's super simple to execute. So this format just calls out exactly why the old way isn't working, and then positions your product as the fix. And it also can show you, creates an open loop as a hook when you're saying, 3 reasons why you regret, or 3 reasons why you hate buying a certain product. And then it creates a sense of like reverse psychology, because people are watching it, trying to see the payoff of maybe why they shouldn't buy something, and then they're hit with all the reasons of why they actually should. So it's great for overcoming objections. Number 2 is the founder story ads. So this is simply just you on camera telling your story. This is one of the highest converting formats that we've seen across every brand that we work with, and because it builds authority, it builds trust, and it doesn't feel like an ad. Okay, so this is a great middle of funnel style ad after customers have become familiar with the brand and they want to see more about the founder and the story behind the brand. Okay, so if you can speak authentically about why you built your product, this format will outperform almost every single thing else. Number 3 is just good old social proof ads. So having reviews, testimonials, and UGC, this is just low hanging fruit, right? So if you take a real review and put it on a product image, it crushes for middle and bottom of funnel. So in this example here, we've taken a product image, not a UGC style one, but we have a testimonial and then also a first time customer discount. So, everyone's been burned buying ads from Meta before, but this social proof can help you get over that trust hurdle instantly by lowering the barrier to entry for your customers, having that risk reversal and like an offer paired with the social proof. So really great style bottom of funnel ad. Number 4 is the us versus them or comparison style ad. So again, another great middle of funnel style ad because it positions your product as against the old way. So for example, like energy drinks versus a clean alternative, powder supplements versus gummies, the expensive options versus like the affordable option. So this works especially well if you have any kind of innovative product or unique mechanism in your niche. So for example, with this brand here that we worked with, we had paired mushroom coffee against traditional coffee or regular coffee. And for example, regular coffee is sort of the enemy. If you're having, basic instant coffee, you're going to get the jitters, it's acidic, it's low quality, and you're going to end up with that 4 p.m. crash. Whereas we positioned our coffee, the mushroom coffee, as the superior alternative. No jitters, easy on a stomach, supports immune and brain function, and even the color palette or the color scheme here. So obviously it's more black and white. It's kind of like that infomercially style color on the left, and then we have the contrasting red on the right here in the brand colors. Number 5 is one of my favorite, and that is the green screen explainer ad. So this can be one of the hardest to execute, but when it works, it can pull in 6 figures in spend easily, like profitably inside of an ad account. So starting with a these ads are story-driven and start with an emotional hook, some sort of unique mechanism and testimonials that handle objection. But the green screen format lets you show proof whilst you talk. So you can have website screenshots, product demos, reviews on screen behind you, customers opening packages, and then kind of just pointing and doing a bit of a reaction style video. But it feels native is why it converts the best. And then it's also can feel authentic. And one tip here is to film these ads with a stock green screen image from Google inside of the Instagram or TikTok app. You film it once with your script, with the green screen stock image, and then you can remove that in your post-production editing tools like CapCut or like Premiere Pro. And you can use that green screen over and over again. And one bonus ad format that I have for you, although it's not really a format, is AI voiceovers. In some of our accounts, AI voiceovers are absolutely dominating. So they're driving more than 50% of new purchases with some of the cheapest CPAs. As you can see here, across our AI formats, we've spent over $36,000 in the last month with a pretty decent conversion rate and a $49 CPA. So performing well above benchmark and holding a really significant spend in this account. So this allows you to test different voices, different pacing, different scripts, and see how the algorithm responds or see how it performs inside of your ad account before you go and scale and invest lots of money into human-led creative production. Now, before I show you how to set this up inside of your ad account, I need to talk about hooks. Because although creative is an exact math formula, hooks are 90% of an ad success. Because if you can get more of your ICP to stop scrolling, that means you're going to have a higher chance of them actually clicking through and purchasing. So when you're testing these 5 creative types, your hook variations should be one of the first things that you iterate on. Because you can have the same ICP, the same angle, and the same format, but if you're using different hooks, we've seen massive performance swings. So even post Andromeda, I see a lot of people talking that, doing tiny text tweaks in your ads won't impact performance, but it definitely still does if you're using it on proven winning ad concepts. So we would only look to do, less than 10% of our creative iterations as hooks. Usually we would take a winning ad concept or a winning format and do different concepts, different formats, different creators. Whatever the base concept or the base creative element is that we've tested and we know is a winner, we would iterate based off of that. But hook variations is just one type of iteration that you can do. And it is also the easiest, which has one of the highest impacts on the success of the ad. Now, let me show you how to actually set this up inside of your ad account. This is the simplest meta ads campaign structure that actually scales. So if you're spending under $30K a month on ads, just run a single CBO campaign. So you would have your testing and your scaling inside of the one CBO campaign. But if you're between 30 to 100K a month on ads, I would run a single separate testing campaigns. So one CBO campaign for scaling, and then one, I prefer to use ABO, so you have more control over budget, and then graduating those winning ads into the CBO campaign. And if you're spending over 100K a month, I would focus on cost caps plus refined iterations. So when it comes to cost caps, you want to have your main scaling campaigns as highest volume, lowest cost, but then an additional campaign as a CBO, which has all of your winning ads and a cost cap that is usually around 10 to 20% less than your goal CPA and an inflated budget. So if your budget is $1,000 a day, you would set these campaigns at, yes, I know it's going to sound like a big scary number, but say $10,000 a day with a cost cap that is well below what your CPA is. And Meta will only spend on that campaign on days that it thinks it can get you those results for that budget. And when it comes to iterations, because you're spending so much, you have a high dedicated testing budget, you can test more refined iterations like hooks, creators, scripts, different B-rolls, different formats, as opposed to going out and testing completely new, different formats and creatives. Now, under each campaign, you would have ideally your ad set, and each ad set and campaign is tied to a batch. So each batch should ideally be tied to your ICP, to one ICP and one angle with your different creative types inside. So try to batch all of your different iteration tests together. So for example, you don't want to test different ICPs against different hook variations, because that will produce wildly different results and not give each ad in the campaign an equal chance inside of the ad auction. So you would have your batch testing that you're doing, you would have your testing campaign, for example, and if you are spending under 30K a month, in this example, you would have your testing ad set inside of your scaling campaign. And inside of that ad set, you would be testing one ICP with one angle and 3 different hooks. Now, with the angle, you could probably get away with testing some slightly different ad formats. So you might have, for example, a UGC, the standard UGC video with like a green screen, for example, because they are kind of similar. But what you don't want to have happen is, you're testing your bottom of funnel style statics with an angle and an ICP against like a short TikTok style, because those ads are so different. Meta's just going to read them completely different, and they're not going to be getting, equal chance inside of the ad auction. But you do want to be testing multiple creative types, throughout the month, and never mixing these ICP tests with your hook tests. And last, when it comes to setting up these campaigns, you want to exclude all your existing customers. So as many customer lists and pixel exclusions as you can get your hands on. You want these campaigns to just be finding new buyers and not retargeting people who have already purchased. So now that we understand what creative diversity is, how we can apply it inside of our ad account, this is exactly how Meta now serves ads based on different funnel stages. So Meta will automatically serve each ad in your campaign to a user depending on what stage they're at in your funnel. So someone who might have already visited your site and are aware of you, they will get hit with like bottom of funnel style ads first, like these like social proof, offer ads, things like that. While others are going to start at the top and be served ads like, pain agitate solution VSLs, green screen style ads. And this is why every creative type matters. So each one plays a role. And for example, from Meta's Andromeda deck that they've sent over, you can have the same product with different motivations. And having these diversifying formats, you can see here we're delivering, this brand, for example, is delivering similar messaging for the same brand, same products across different formats, and it is being served to different users. So how do you actually analyze these ads once they're inside of your campaign? So after every 7 days, look to replace, don't just kill the ads that aren't getting spent. If Meta is pushing budget towards certain creatives, that's a signal that they're working. So you need to let the algorithm do its job. Your role is to keep feeding it fresh variations instead of just trying to micromanage every single ad. And if your performance is falling off a cliff, then this one metric will tell you if your ads are dying. So just look at your frequency. If your frequency is creeping up above a 2.5 or a 3 in like a week, then that's a massive red flag, because it means that Meta is running out of new people to show your ads to. And then what happens next is your CPAs start to spike, your ROAS drops, and you think your ads are fatigued, but really you're just hitting the same people with slightly different messaging. So this is what I call the creative hamster wheel. You're churning out new ads, but you're not able to scale, because once you have creative fatigue, okay, it's particularly on ads that do creep up above a 3, what I see with most founders or most brands is that they think that their top performing ad is actually a bottom of funnel style ad. Okay, because those typically have the best ROAS, but they also have the highest frequency and the highest CPMs. So they take their winning ad, which is a bottom of funnel style ad, right? They recreate it, which speaks to the same audience, which is their bottom of funnel audience, with the same message, which then leads to high frequencies, high CPMs, dropping ROAS when they try and scale, which leads them back to the same cycle of stuck in this loop of remaking the same winning ads over and over again, when really all they're doing is remaking these types of ads here. People have already heard of them. So the only solution here is creative diversity and really focusing on having your campaign structures set up right and making sure that we're serving ads to people based on the different stages of their funnel. So if you're spending 30K per month or more on Meta and you're stuck on the creative hamster wheel, the same ads, the same audiences, the same results, this is exactly how you break out with creative diversity, not just creative volume. Now, if you don't want to do all of this yourself, my agency does exactly this. We take your existing content, turn it into dozens of high converting variations, and feed Meta's algorithm so you can focus on scaling. If you're interested, click the link below in the description and book in a call with me and my team. But there's a full breakdown of how we work, case studies, and a way to book a call. So if you're looking to run this yourself, then just start with this framework. 3 angles, 5 creative types will give you 15 variations per batch to test. And that's really the game now. That's how you can scale with creative diversity and Andromeda in 2026. So if you have any questions, drop a comment below, subscribe if this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.